Captain Latimer wants me to prove that I can stay alive with just my spacesuit for protection.
We have Sergeant Johnson and Sergeant Jacobs in there with you today, and so two of our finest, and you got a good chance to meet those guys whenever they were over in the integration room with you. They're going to be right there.
There's an awful lot of people, presumably all to keep me alive, because when all the air's pumped out, this chamber will turn deadly, making some strange things happen.
Is that going to boil?
That will begin to boil at around 63,000 feet. So we're going to, and I'll keep you posted on that as we get a little bit closer to it. Okay, we're going to start our rapid ascent up to 75,000 feet now.
Roger.
And we're going to keep an eye on that glove, which has already expanded considerably since we started. Now, we just passed through 50,000 feet. That's what the Air Force deems as the space equivalent zone. And that's kind of a carryover to back to the old space race days, whenever we were trying to kind of set a timeline between us and this. Oh, there it goes.
Let's just be clear. That water isn't boiling because it's hot, it's boiling because the pressure's so low. Without this suit on, my tears and saliva would boil too.
And our glove just popped, so it made it to 70,000 feet.
All right, so here in this clip, I'm gonna go back to the video and do some comments over this. You see James May saying he's been told that this is the only thing that's gonna keep him alive, this spacesuit, so-called spacesuit. Now, there's guys with him here, 3 of them. The controller says there's 2 guys gonna be there with you to keep you safe, but there's actually 3. You see a helmet on the left, 2 guys, 1 on either side of him. And I thought they were going to leave the room after they strapped him in. But no, they keep him in the room. Look at them. They're bare face. They're wearing some sort of an oxygen mask. They close the door behind them. And they're going to pump the air out of this room supposedly to a vacuum. And the only thing keeping him alive is the spacesuit. What is keeping alive the other 3 guys? The balloon, I already talked about the balloon on my original video, and the water, so I'm not even going to go over those. I think that's ludicrous. The point I really wanted to make was that. So obvious that this is fake, and the only people that are fooled by this are people who are fools already. So, there he is. I mean, he's in the same room with 3 guys with no spacesuit, and the only thing keeping him alive is a spacesuit. How idiotic is that? So a lot of people have pointed me to this video in the last few days. That's why I went back and remade this video. And I figure I'm going to remake it and actually just really point this fact out. That these guys are sitting with him with no spacesuit and they're fine. So NASA has never tested successfully a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber. The only one time they did, it almost killed the guy. And I'm actually going to play that video at the end of this for your delightment and enjoyment.
So far, so good. But things would get a lot more hairy if my cockpit canopy were to fail. Without my suit, such a catastrophic pressure drop would rip apart my lungs. Let's practice that then.
3, 2, 1. There you go. Pull that helmet hole down. Perfect. Doing a great job. Looking good. How you feeling?
I'm still breathing.
You are still breathing. Your suit pressure looks excellent. Your helmet pressure is looking good. So everything worked exactly like it's supposed to, which is always great.
Good. I'm very glad that's over with.
Well done. Your brains didn't blow up, your eyes didn't bulge out, your guts didn't fall out. So it's a good day so far.
The eyes of the other guys that were in there with him didn't bulge out, and their brains didn't blow up either. How curious, huh? So here's that clip I promised of the single one time, at least documented, that NASA tested a spacesuit and almost killed the guy in the suit.
The ultimate and most dangerous test was a huge, specially constructed vacuum chamber.
They were able to pull all the air out to create a big vacuum, just like it would be on the moon. That way we could test our suits to make sure there was no leakage.
One such test narrowly avoided disaster. Jim LeBlanc was the test subject in the vacuum chamber. Cliff Hess, the supervising engineer outside.
Jim, while you're exercising, I'd like you to stay intermediate all the time, okay? I'm pretty cool right now. Okay, well, you'll warm up here in a minute, so let's stay right here if you can stand it.
The testing started just normally, like they all do. And Jim was at a vacuum in the spacesuit.
Well, I feel pretty good here.
With all the air sucked out, all that protected him was his pressurized suit. Then something happened.
I heard over the headset that he was losing suit pressure.
The tube pressurizing his suit had become disconnected. He was in serious danger.
There really wasn't any feeling. It was just happening so fast, trying to get the chamber back to a safe pressure and Jim to a safe pressure. He was inside the suit.
As I stumbled backwards, I could feel the saliva on my tongue starting to bubble just before I went unconscious. And that's kind of the last thing I remember.
Essentially, he had no pressure on the outside of his body, and that's a very unusual case to get, and there's very little in the medical literature as to what happens when you have that. There's a lot of conjecture, that your fluids will boil.
Within 25 seconds, a co-worker, sitting in a partially pressurized antechamber and wearing an oxygen mask, was able to dash in. At the normal rate of repressurization, it would have taken 30 minutes to make the chamber safe. Hess repressurized it in just over a minute.
That's much, much faster than you would ever come down in an airplane. It would really hurt your ears if you did that.
Finally, it was safe to let a doctor in. Miraculously, LeBlanc had already regained consciousness.
When I stood up in the chamber, I felt fine. My ears ached a little bit from the course of rapid repressurization, and that's basically the only effect I had.
It was one of the few instances where anybody was ever exposed to that low of a pressure and lived to tell about it with no obvious damage.
Such an accident in space would have been fatal. But thanks to testing like this, no astronaut has ever had to face a similar situation.